What's up, guys? Ben here, Tactical Nutrition. A couple of things here before we start. One, if you notice I'm bleeding, I just shaved, cut myself, and I don't have any of those little band-aids, and I don't feel like slapping a big one on there, so I'm not going to bleed out. We're just going to have to deal with it. But we're with Tactical Nutrition here, where, of course, we are exploring the best ways to be healthy naturally, without having to listen to a lot of BS from the medical industry. I'm not saying it's all BS. I'm just saying I know so many people that have gone there, including myself. I have a story that I will tell one of these videos. I did not just come to these views on my own, like out of nowhere. I do have a story. But what I'm going to talk about today is certain nutritional deficiencies and why they're a lot more important than people think, and the common ones and what you can kind of do about them, the symptoms. So I made a Instagram video earlier, and by the way, if you can follow me on there, Tactical Nutrition Fit, that would be greatly appreciated, because growing organically on social media is extremely tough these days. So anything helps on there. Plus, I post a lot of, I think, good content. Anyway, so the video I posted was about, it started with iodine, because I post my meals on my Instagram stories a lot of times. I post workout videos on the feed, but in the stories I'll post a lot of nutrition stuff. Just my meals, macros, stuff like that. And I made some eggs this morning. Just it was 6 o'clock in the morning. It wasn't like my breakfast, so to speak. I guess it was a first meal, but I was out and I went for a little hike. So I just, normally I wouldn't eat that early, but I was like, you know what? I'm trying to gain a little bit of weight, so I had 4 eggs just as a snack, more or less, and I put some turmeric, and then I put some iodized salt on it, and so the thing is, then I got to thinking about the iodized salt. And I post a lot in my stories about that salt, along with the Celtic sea salt that I put in my water bottle. I have some in here right now, along with my tea. Anyway, and I was talking about how there is a reason that I use iodized salt. So it's one of the most major deficiencies in the U.S. and probably worldwide, actually. Probably a lot in third world countries, if anything. But what happens is, I've met so many, how many women do you know, especially, that have hypothyroidism? You know? And that was one of the main things that I started, when I started looking at iodine years ago, was oftentimes their doctors would prescribe them iodine tablets, or at least tell them to try and get iodine in their diet. Other times they would just get thrown on the whatever that now I'm blanking, hypothyroid medication is. I can't remember it, thyroxine. But they wouldn't tell them to have iodine. So then they're into that whole on this drug for the rest of their lives. They never quite figure out the nutrition, the side effects. There's side effects of the thyroxine, and so that's one of the reasons I'm so critical of a lot of doctors. But a lot of doctors, some doctors do prescribe iodine, and I thought that was interesting, because iodine tends to migrate to the thyroid. That's one of the main places that your body uses it. We don't need to know all the deep science about it. I honestly don't know what it... Well, I should say iodine is used to make, there's T1, T2, T3, T4. I think the most important one is T3. Maybe in the comments you can tell me if I'm wrong, but they take your T3 levels. T3 creates T4. And that's the levels that they check to see if you got hypothyroidism. Anyway, so then I start to look into these nutritional deficiencies, realize Most people are deficient in iodine because one reason is it's not in a lot of foods. It's in some fish, and it used to be in our salt. But most people's salt now, they use table salt, is sodium chloride. Now, sodium chloride itself isn't that big of a deal. I mean, your body can use that as an electrolyte, the sodium and the chloride. But it used to be sodium iodide, and so they changed it. They processed it out. So our body, normally we used to, I would say hundreds of years ago, when salt was like a big deal to trade, right? I mean, that was like, you're worth your weight in salt, as they say. It was probably, iodized salt. And so, or sea salt. And so people were getting iodine regularly. And there probably wasn't a bunch of hypothyroidism. But now it seems to be an epidemic. So that's one thing. You can get it through some fish, again. But your thyroid controls your metabolism in many ways. So you end up, if your thyroid levels are off, then your metabolism, people will have body temperature problems. You get all types of problems. So that's number one. Number two, I was talking about was magnesium. So that's one reason I use Celtic sea salt, which you can buy a bag for like $10 and it'll last you like at least a year. And what it is, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's unrefined Celtic sea salt. It not necessarily, where you get it from may not necessarily be a Celtic area, but that's where a lot of that salt comes from. So since it's unrefined, and this is a big part of processing food in general, since it's unrefined, there's still minerals attached to the salt. See, things like salt and sugar in their natural forms, even like, I'll go to sugar for a split second. Like if you chew on sugar cane, it's not like high fructose corn syrup. It's not processed sugar. It's still got nutrients attached to it, right? It's the processing. It's the heating. It's the bleaching. It's all that stuff. It removes the nutrients. That's why you end up with sugar in your soda, maybe even if it's just fructose in the soda or whatever, high fructose corn syrup, there's no nutrition in it because it's been processed out. High fructose corn syrup is extremely high heating processing. This is the problem with processed foods in general. So Celtic sea salt, very large grains, like kind of stuck together. I drizzle some in my water a couple times a day. And one reason I do is because it's got magnesium in it. Magnesium is another thing that most people are deficient in. When I say most, like some of these things are like 70-80% of the population. Iodine, magnesium, and then selenium. But magnesium we know it's important for mental function. It helps people that have depression or anxiety or psychotic issues like that. And if you notice, those are very prevalent these days. These things are going up. And because these deficiencies are getting worse and worse. And because magnesium, a lot of times they'll get it in the supplement form. And sometimes it's in a form that can't be absorbed properly. Like there's different types of all these vitamins, minerals. That's why like that video I did on supplements, you got to be able to read through the ingredients, and I don't know them all. There's thousands, but there's different types of, like there's calcium. If you want calcium, there's calcium carbonate, but that's basically like chalk. It's essentially like table chalk that you'd use on a chalkboard. It's not very absorbable. But there's like calcium citrate, I think, like that. But so getting magnesium naturally in the Celtic sea salt, it will help your mental function, and it'll help you sleep. It'll help your gut, all these things. Because if you notice, there's milk of magnesium, I think, for when people have trouble sleeping as a kid or stomach issues. And by the way, stomach issues are generally related to mental issues, so all this is related. So magnesium, that's another one. But you can get Celtic sea salt. And there's others. I mean, there's sources. You can get some in plant foods, but again, you have to eat a lot of them. I just think it's really useful to use Celtic sea salt. I can't harp on it enough. It doesn't really affect the taste. Plus, it gives you electrolytes, and there's other things in it. There's other minerals. So then there's selenium. Selenium is like kind of a tough one because I'm not even that sure exactly the best sources of selenium. I know it's in some vegetables, but I'd have to look for that. But I want you guys to be aware that selenium is a big deficiency, especially in women. I know that it's implicated in breast cancer, but it's also another one that affects your mood and your mind and your mental state. So you see how these are just 3 nutritional deficiencies that I'm talking about in this video. And there's many, many more, but most people don't think about iodine, magnesium, and selenium. That's why I'm harping on them. I don't want to talk. A lot of people are like, oh, I need calcium. That's oftentimes not even true. For your bones and whatnot, that's a whole nother story for another video. But we know how these nutritional deficiencies can affect you because I've got a great example to end the video. Vitamin C. Okay? So, back in the, I don't know what, 1800s, I'm thinking 1700s, the British Navy, I guess it would be like before that. We're talking like maybe even like the 1500s, probably for centuries actually. 1492, Columbus sailed the, whatever. But they were noticing that a lot of the sailors were getting issues on these long treks, these long ships, these long sailing like trips. I'm tripping over my word. Voyages, and it would be bad. The teeth would like be falling out. Their skin would get all blotchy and stuff, and they'd get like mental issues, and eventually they could die. It was very serious. So they noticed when they gave them citrusy food. One of them was limes, which is one reason why they called them limeys. See, I know a little bit about history. It would go away. What it ended up being was vitamin C deficiency. That's a example of a very like extreme deficiency that manifests itself in physical health. Now just imagine all the ones I'm talking about. Extreme iodine deficiency, hypothyroidism. Extreme magnesium deficiency, psychosis, you could say. Sleep problems, digestive issues. How many people do you know with digestive issues? Crohn's, colitis, diverticulitis. I'm not just saying it's all magnesium. I'm saying it's a big piece of the puzzle. And it's something that you can control, right? And then selenium, which I need to look at source. I should have looked at sources of that before the video. But guys, I guess to end the video, these nutritional deficiencies and these illnesses and chronic diseases that people may think they have can probably be fixed with nutrition, because as I always like to say, all roads lead to nutrition. First and foremost, you are what you eat. And that's one reason why I have quite a diverse diet. Like I have my staples, which is like what most people eat: chicken, broccoli, rice, ground beef, all that fun stuff, peanut butter, whatever. But then I trickle in fish, like naturally unfarmed fish, salmon, especially smoked salmon, once, twice a week. I take my fish oils. I eat a lot of olives, some avocados, have some different fruits. You're hitting all your bases. And I think that's one reason why I was able to stop myself from getting sick all the time. It's like as compared to when I was a kid, and I was sick all the time. Anyway, guys, I hope that kind of helps. It's just another reason to look into your nutrition if you have any of these issues. You can find a lot of stuff on the internet. I know they say don't believe everything you hear, but you can still find good leads. And then you can talk to your doctor. You can find dietitians, nutritionists, coaches, etc. Anyway, guys, that's all I got for you. I will see you guys in the next video. Peace out.